For the second week in a row, Thomas Pachernik has prepared a statement.
What? I didn't prepare a statement for
Completely generated.
Completely
by ChatGPT.
throws me under the bus.
You said
I
every
didn't
week
come
you
with
would
a
have a
piece of
statement
paper.
prepared.
My statement is, I am Iron Man. No, that's not. That's not what I'm going with. I don't know.
Good. That's a good one. I like it.
The Habs are the best team in the NHL.
No,
Is that a
this isn't-
statement?
I think the bit's over now.
I would have loved to sit here with a pen and paper and just write for another hour like I did last week. But I wasn't told to do that.
It's just not how it goes. I mean, the comments did tell you to do it every week.
I think I said in the comments that I would actually do
So
it.
you told
But it was
yourself
more of a
that-
joke. It was more of a joke.
The statements will come back at some point. I don't know when. They'll just surprise us. I guess I put him on the spot. Today, though, we are doing reaction to your trades. I feel like this is a yearly video that we do, which is a lot of fun. We always reach out, post something on our Instagram story. So thank you to everyone who responded on Instagram or on X with your trade proposals that you want to see happen this season. I kind of bucketed them into specific players. 8 players is kind of what I have here to talk about. Names that could realistically be on the move this trade deadline or kind of next offseason. They've been in trade rumors already. I think we got a lot of good ones, actually. We got a lot of good ones.
So there are 8 trades total that we're going to be evaluating?
No, there are a lot of trades, but like I bucketed them into player
revolve
by
around those
player.
players.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay,
so
okay,
like
cool.
there are 8 players. We'll go over them. We'll see if you guys like them. Would you accept on one side? Would you accept on the other side? Or, depending on the player, what kind of trade would you want to see for them? Where would you want to see them land? So we'll dive into some of the big ones. And I don't know if I want to start with anyone other than this guy because I feel like he's maybe one of the biggest names going into the trade deadline, and that's Nazem Kadri.
Oh,
I feel like, and we got the most proposals for him.
Yeah,
So we have
that
5
makes
different
sense.
trade proposals for him.
Wow.
So the first one I'm going to do of the 4 for Kadri, he's going back to Toronto. For Nick Robertson, a second, and Bobby McMahon to Calgary. What do we say? Are we saying yes to this trade? Or are we saying no to this trade from Ollie_Demore3?
I'm saying no if I'm Calgary because I simply think I can just get a better package for Kadri. Like Kadri's still a very effective player. There's going to be a team that's serious about the playoffs that will be willing to give up more than that. I mean, you don't really know entirely what you have with Robertson. He could go somewhere and be great. I just don't think he's like a surefire, like really good player in your top 6 or your top 9 necessarily even. Bobby McMahon, solid player. I just don't think for a team like Calgary, who should be focusing on tearing it all down and just rebuilding for the future, I just don't really think that threads the needle for them.
I think when you look at trades that kind of pop up around the deadline every year, we always have the same reaction, and it's he went for a first-round pick, like Scott Laughton went for a first-round pick a year ago. What did Luke Shen go for? Maybe a second? Like the return on these players, teams pay such a premium for assets at the deadline, and I guess Kadri is a little bit more of an interesting case because he does command a lot of salary, and there is still a little bit of term left on that contract, if I'm not mistaken. So I think maybe that's why you'd see here in this suggestion it's only a second, and of course Robertson, who is, I guess, still young, but I feel like at this point we've kind of learned to see what he is at the NHL level. And then like you said about McMahon, I think you kind of hit the nail right on the head there where it doesn't exactly fit the trajectory of Calgary. So if I were Calgary, I guess Robertson is kind of nice to get back, but you're mostly just looking for draft picks.
They're a last place
I
team
think
right now.
You'd want a first-round pick at least for a player of the caliber of Nazem Kadri, who I know is getting up there in age slowly, but the fact of the matter is, if you put him on a playoff team, he is going to be a gamer.
Maybe even 2 first-round picks.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I mean, I get that he's getting older, but like, he's still an effective player.
Yeah.
And you just know that any team that trades for Kadri, if they're going to the playoffs, he's going to be an impact player. I mean, unless he gets suspended. No, just kidding.
Hopefully he doesn't for any team trading for him.
Yeah.
I tend to agree. I think probably a first-round pick needs to be in that deal to get it done. But for the Leafs, and I think Ollie might be a Leafs fan here, you're really looking at it where like you've had 19 different line combinations play 10 minutes with each other so far this season. They haven't really solidified what they want their lines to look like. It makes sense. I will say for Nick Robertson, having a really solid start to the season now that he's kind of actually playing a little up the lineup. Like, he's been playing with Matthews, he's been playing with JT. 7 points in 12 games to start the season. I think for a guy that they've been waiting a long time to see if that offense will ever translate. It's starting to maybe come, but I agree with you. I don't know if it's enough to be like, that's my main asset that I'm getting back.
What are Kadri's stats this year?
He's got 10 points so far in 14 games. So he's doing what he does. He's doing what he does. The goals will come.
Obviously, Calgary's just not a good team either.
No. But like you said, you know what you're getting out of that guy.
Yeah.
And as an Avalanche fan, I would love to see him back. Someone did suggest a Kadri trade back to Colorado, but I'm going to go to Montreal next because we have 2 trades here for Kadri to Montreal. And we talked about it on the podcast last time. Pierre LeBrun saying that the Habs have a list of centers for every team that they might be looking to target. Kadri is on that list. So here's the first one. This one is from J. Rez Pitts. I'm going to butcher all of these names, but they're going to be on the screen. So shout out to anyone
It's the trade that counts.
That responded. Kadri to the Habs for Masar, a second and a third. And then we have another one here from DJ.1. Jacob Fowler and Michael Hage for Kadri.
Are you kidding me?
That one is ridiculous. So that one,
gosh.
I don't think we need to pay any attention to that one.
You wouldn't give up individually either of those players in a 1-for-1.
My whole point, I was curious to see what you were going to say, but like, you look back to the Brock Nelson trade last year. The Avs had to give up Callum Ritchie and picks. Like, Callum Ritchie's their number 1 prospect.
Yeah.
Very highly touted player. If I'm the Habs, I honestly, and I'm curious to see where they're kind of situated in the NHL by the deadline, but I'm at the point now where it's like, just you have everything you need. You don't need to chase. You don't need to go out and give up prospects that may make an impact 2-3 years from now for a guy like Nazem Kadri, when obviously you have Suzuki. Doc looks pretty solid. He's playing a very strong 2-way game right now. Kapanen's been a nice surprise this year, and of course you have Jake Evans, who's
Higgs a center.
Yeah. Right-handed center.
This is the guy.
So, I wouldn't want to give up any of these prospects.
No.
And maybe Philip Meshar, he was drafted in the Slavkovsky draft. He was the second
late.
first-round pick that year. He hasn't really been able to crack the lineup yet. Even at like the OHL or AHL level when he was playing there, he didn't exactly like completely dominate. But who knows? He could be a guy that can contribute one day in your bottom 6. So I don't know. It just seems like let's not rush. They already gave up 2 first-round picks in the Noah Dobson trade, 2 players that the Islanders took that I'm sure will be very, very solid contributors. But hey, the Dobson trade, it made a little bit more sense. Now it's just like, this is your team. You got all these guys locked in on low numbers in terms of contracts. Just, this is it. I don't know if they necessarily need to chase.
And you know what's interesting too? Hague could be playing for the Habs in the playoffs this year.
Yeah.
I mean, depending on what happens with Michigan, it's totally reasonable to think that he will sign with the Habs and they will have him playing.
Yeah. I think
significant
that's
number
their
of minutes
second line
a year.
center for the next
Easy.
10 years.
For sure. And I think there's a good understanding of that. And Montreal financially is also in such a good place. It's like you don't need to rock the boat too much. There obviously is some logic in being like, oh, maybe you do want to get a guy like Kadri to fill in and just like help out at center. But yeah, like depending on
all
what
the Flyers and get Christian Dvorak back.
Yeah.
Get him back on the squad.
Snipe some more empty net goals.
Yeah, he's a
And by
UFA
snipe, I
at
mean
the end of the
tip
year.
and
He only signed a 1-year deal. Get him at the
Take
deadline.
Christian.
So
Yeah.
we're declining both of those pretty easily then.
The Fowler and Hage one is
that one ridiculous.
Maybe Crosby back for that.
The Mashar one is interesting.
I think that's a reasonable
especially
trade
because
for Montreal.
you've got 2 second-round picks this year as well, so you're really just giving up a third of your own picks to and a prospect, like you said, that hasn't really done a whole lot in the AHL.
If I was Calgary,
You're higher on
more.
But then what happens?
For sure.
Because you're probably relying on Hague becoming your second line center, right? If you're the Habs.
Doc,
What?
buddy.
What? Okay, but let's say but then your hope is that Hague will be better than Doc in the future, and then you throw Kadri into the mix. It's like you kind of just have like a lot of centers if that's the case. And like, what happens if Hague pans out and is your second line center right away? Then are you just gonna have Kadri as like your?
Well, he's also getting older.
I mean, he could. Yeah, maybe he could play the wing.
It's not a bad problem to have.
It's not, but
would say.
it's not a bad problem to have. But like, then you just start paying Kadri $7 million a year, and then you have all these other centers too. It's like, how much are you going to need him like next year or the year after?
It's a fair
That's
question.
why I said, like, don't chase if you're Montreal. Just kind of.
But
stay
you know,
the course.
like as was mentioned, like that first offer was like it's not really that unreasonable for Montreal to make that trade.
No, I don't think Calgary would. I think you're right. I think they'd want a better prospect back. Which
I think they
makes
could
a lot
get
of
that
sense.
from another team.
Probably.
for sure.
Last Kadri one is to the Avs. I'm gonna decline it. It's Jacob _Kaminsky 07. It's Ross Colton, Gavin Brindley, and a 2027 first to bring Kadri back. I think it's a little steep. I liked what I've seen from Brindley, but the Avs are just not in a position to be giving away first round picks like that. I think the Brock Nelson deal, if I'm giving a first round pick, I want Rasmus Anderson. I think that's what I'm doing it for. I'm not doing it for Kadri again, given the trajectory of his career, given where he could end up, like you said, in even just 2 short years. Like what kind of player he's going to be. I'm not saying he wouldn't help this team right now. I'm more so looking at the team. They're playing great. They're in first in the entire league. Ross Colton's a great player. I like what I've seen from Gavin Brindley, but that first round pick, if you're not getting back like a Rasmus Anderson, or I don't even know who's comparable to it, because like I guess Kadri kind of is the best center on the market, but I just want, I think, something a little more for that first round pick, given they just don't have a lot of prospects in their pool. Yeah. So
This is an interesting one, and I think hindsight's 2020, knowing what we know, seeing what's kind of transpired. The Avs have always been very aggressive at the deadline, and they've been willing, especially they've done a great job realizing their window and saying, hey, we got McKinnon, we got McCarr, we got all these great players. We're not afraid to trade our prospects, trade our picks, and kind of be a little bit bare in that respect. But you talk about like the Brock Nelson trade, and I know last year Calgary was pushing for the playoffs at that time, so they weren't really in a position to part with Kadri, and Brock Nelson was a UFA, so it's a little bit different. But would you have not rather have acquired, you talked about not wanting to part with a first round pick anymore because they already did it last year. Would you have rather them kind of passed on Nelson and then used those assets to get a guy like Kadri? Or are you more content with Brock Nelson? I know he's maybe, 2 years younger?
If there was a way to keep Richie, then I would say yes. But not knowing that, it's hard to say. Yeah. Because Nelson's been one of the best, kind of most consistent goal scorers in the NHL. It's kind of been, he's an under-the-radar guy in that respect. And I think that he's been a really good fit with this team. And it's kind of unfair to compare him to Kadri, who has played with this team and won a cup. So I'm kind of just like, well, yeah, the fit with Kadri would have been amazing as well for those assets. And he had a great year last year. So I guess if you were to guarantee me that we would have been able to do the trade and keep Richie somehow, I would have said yes, because that was kind of the sticking point that I think a lot of fans were like, oh, wow, we traded like our best prospect. Like this was a guy that was supposed to be in our top 6 for years to come. But if you can't guarantee me that, then I'm happy with how it kind of turned out.
I'm definitely cheering for Callum Ritchie. I don't know. I just like.
We'll see.
They're smart. Like the Avs are. I feel like they're. I mean, obviously the Rantanen thing, people can criticize their management, but like, who knows? Maybe there's something with Ritchie that they just like didn't really like, or they didn't see that he fit well on the Avs. I'm sure he'll be a good player with the Islanders, but I don't know. I don't think this trade is like unreasonable at all. I actually think it's a pretty fair trade, but
I don't think it's unreasonable either.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Artemi Panarin. That's our next trade target.
Knew this guy was coming.
We've got 2 trades here, and the Rangers have been playing better. They're kind of rolling off some overtime wins here, getting those done, and climbing the standings in the East. That is just like everyone has like 13 points or higher.
No one has a losing record. I don't. Maybe one team does.
Nuts.
And not in the Metro at least.
Crazy.
They're all at least 6 and 5. Yeah.
Crazy start. So we've got 2 Panarin trades. The first one comes from Coy Ragland. Sorry, Coy. It's Bradley Nadeau and a first from Carolina for Artemi Panarin. The second one here is from Aiden Cochran. Panarin and a fourth to the Ducks for a first in 2026, and Pavel Mintyukov. Rangers need a defenseman. Both of these are really interesting.
Yeah.
I think they help kind of everyone involved. But where do you want to start? Do you want to start with the Carolina one, a first and Nadeau for Panarin?
I think like resource-wise, that's kind of what you're gonna get for Panarin. I don't think if you're the Rangers,
Nadeau's good,
Like,
man.
I know.
Guy can rip the that. Guy's
I
a crazy
wish
shot.
I saw a little more of him at the juniors last year. I feel like
It's kind of weird. He was like coming from the AHL. You're
Yeah.
like, this guy should be an amazing player. Didn't really light the lamp by any means. But man, he's already showing that he's going to be a good pro and he's going to be able to score. I think he's going to be able to score like a lot of goals at the NHL level. The question is, it's just like Panarin. He's obviously so good. So like he's getting older. You know, like I don't know.
Does it make a difference that these are two division rivals that are kind of talking here? Like, does that kind of sway one Carolina from being like, we don't want to give you assets for the future? Or, I mean, the main thing is there are other Rangers going to be like, hey, we're not giving you Artemi Panarin, who's been one of the faces of our franchise for the last 5-6 years.
I think the main thing is that Artemi Panarin is going to be a free agent this summer. And like, you don't know if he's going to extend. Are you going to have a situation kind of like with Rantanen where like he goes to a team, you don't know how much are you willing to give up for a guy who's not necessarily going to sign with your team. I believe he's a free agent, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he's also
So-
getting a little, like, I think where it differs from the Rantanen situation is Rantanen is obviously 28 years old, so you're trading for a guy. You hope that he's going to sign an 8-year deal there. Panarin is, I feel like teams would more so be okay with him being a rental just to fuel a playoff push because he is, you know, in his mid-30s.
That's a lot.
4 years old.
It is a lot to give up, though, on both sides. I mean, you have Nadeau, who has his entire career ahead of him. And then you have Minchikov, who also has his entire career ahead of him. I think the Ducks one, okay, so I definitely see it from Carolina's perspective because obviously every year we see this team needs another goal scorer. This team needs another goal scorer in the playoffs. They can't get it done because they just don't have those guys. It's a very interesting proposal. I think if Carolina had the opportunity to get a player like Panarin, they would have a tough time saying no to it. I think the Ducks, too, is so interesting because I feel like Carolina and Anaheim are two teams not necessarily at the same stage right now, even though they're both playing really well. Like Carolina's in more of a win now stage, so it would make, I think, a little more sense to me if they traded for someone like Panarin, whereas the Ducks have like this incredible young core. They're building something great. I think they're exceeding expectations right now, and they're only going to get better. And then you have to ask yourself, are we really willing to compromise our future and try to win now and give up an important piece potential on our blue line in order to get someone to help us win right now? I think if you're Anaheim, you kind of like just trust the process a little bit and you just keep going and you don't compromise too much. But then again, it's like if your team's almost first in your division and then you could be going to the playoffs, it's like,
But they kind of have
it's tempting.
some like, I just don't necessarily think there's a huge need on that roster right now for a player like Panarin. And I think when you look at Minchikov, someone who, when he came in, like immediately his first 15, 20 games in the NHL, everyone was so sky high on him. And I think he's going to be a really good pro. I just feel like when we talk about Anaheim, a lot of times he maybe falls down the pecking order of reasons to be excited about this team right now for whatever reason, just because they have so much other talent. As good as he can be, it's almost like he's been buried in the narratives with the Ducks. But defensemen, they take some more time, and they're also very, very valuable assets. And if you build out an organization from the back, that's going to give you such an advantage in the long term. So I would definitely want to keep hold of him. And if you look at the Ducks up front, I think they already have that blend of kind of veteran players with Kreider, Terry, and Killorn that are going to help impact this team.
That's
if
the
you do go on a playoff run. So it's like Panarin, not that he's an odd man out. He's a great player. You'd love to have him, but I agree with you in the sense that I don't think they need him.
Yeah, but then you also think like, how much better could Leo Carlsson be playing with a guy like Panarin? Oh my God, he's already gross.
It's one of those things where it's like, do you want to stifle the growth of these guys and make a push, give up a first-round pick? And, I mean, if you made this trade today, if you're Anaheim, I think it'd be foolish because you've had a great start to the season, but that first-round pick could easily still be in the lottery potentially because you might miss the playoffs. That would be foolish. If they're still in it around deadline time, it's obviously a lot more tempting. But I tend to agree with you guys of wanting to stay put. You're playing with house money right now. No one thought you'd be a playoff team. So just enjoy it. Get your guys the experience they need. Don't add a different element into this and also give up an asset. And most likely, I would say Panarin probably wouldn't re-sign there next year, and he'd want to test the open market at age 34. Maybe he has a more willingness to sign long-term in Carolina if he goes there because of their immediacy in winning and because they're a championship team or championship aspirations and more so than the Ducks right now in the stage of their team building process. But even for Carolina, I would say that they have no draft picks next draft outside of their first round pick and 2 sixths. So like giving up a first this year for the Hurricanes, they might be a little less inclined to do that depending on the player as well, because they are I feel like outside of the Rantanen deal, they're a very forward-thinking organization of like, we are going to bring people in here that we hope are not just going to be rentals. Like the rental game with them, and I know they did it with Gensel, they've been burned by it a couple times, that at 34 years old for Panarin, with basically your only draft pick for an entire class for an organization that's really good at drafting, I feel like. They find these guys that most people may not value the same way as them, and they turn into really good NHL players. They're probably less inclined to do that. The Ducks one's definitely interesting, but I think they should hold on to those defenseman assets that they have for something that might be able to help your team more long-term rather than just in the short term in the little window they've got right now.
Yeah, it's like the Ducks are kind of just getting started,
exactly.
Right? Like, whereas like Carolina, you almost feel they obviously have some really good young players, and they probably still will be good for a long time. But you kind of feel like, okay, they've been good for a while. Like this is kind of their time to get to where they need to be. Do they just see Panarin necessarily as the player who's going to help them get to where they want to be?
It's a good question that they'll have to answer if they do try and make a trade. Let's move on to the next one here. Josh_Palmer doesn't like what he's seen from the Oilers goaltending so far. So he wants to trade Stuart Skinner, David Tomasic, and a 3rd rounder for Joey Decord from the Seattle Kraken. What do we think about this one?
I think Seattle says no.
Seattle says no all day.
In a heartbeat. Also, Seattle's first place right now in their division.
Yeah.
Which I don't think we've really acknowledged or given them enough credit for, because going into the season, we weren't high on them.
Ron Francis, man.
And also, basically, like, this is a trade of it's Stuart Skinner in a 4th because Tomasic is playing in the NHL for the first time this year. He's 29 years old.
He's actually looked like pretty good, though.
Yeah, he's been good. Yeah. He's played 11 games, 3 points, whatever. But it's just like, why are you throwing him in there? Right? Like, he's not a prospect of any kind. You're really not sweetening the deal for Ron Francis to give up his number 1 goalie and the best goalie in this trade at all.
This is like the biggest. This is the biggest no of the day.
Is this the worst? Is this worse than the Fowler? Michael H one.
I'm still thinking about those Panarin ones. Like those were some really
they're really interesting ones.
They were enticing.
And then
we just had the worst.
Just absolutely horrible.
The worst one of the bunch for
this
sure.
This is like when you play franchise mode and you just put the trade settings to like easy for accepting, and you just load up your team. And
I don't even know if the easy one would accept this one. This one is that bad.
Who's a goalie that could even be available, do you think, ahead of the deadline?
Do you think the Oilers need to... I guess that's the question with this and why I wanted to include this one, because I knew it was going to be a no, but do the Oilers need to trade for a goalie? I know we talk about this every year.
I think at the end of the day, is there a high chance that they go to the playoffs and they get burned by their goaltending once again? Yes. I'm not going to be foolish and rule out and say that that's not a possibility.
It's so...
But at the same time, it's easier said than done to acquire a starting caliber goaltender.
Mm-hmm. Who's going to be available?
Yeah.
Who's going to be available?
Most bad teams that have good goaltending
are bad most bad teams are bad because they don't necessarily have good goaltending.
Or if they do have good goaltending,
they're not
a little kept secret. They want to hold on to that. Like Calgary, Dustin Wolf.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's true.
And even Seattle right now where they are, like they've kind of shocked us a bit in the start here. If that continues, there's no way they're trading Joey Decord. But obviously, like, even if it doesn't, like you said, he's a really good goalie. He's proven that. Why would they just give him to a division rival for absolute peanuts on the dollar?
In most cases,
a guy like Saros? Yeah, I think Preds would maybe move him.
It's an interesting one for
Preds
sure.
We can do an entire episode on just taking a look at the Preds and what their next 5 years are going to look
so
like.
I'm glad you brought up the Preds because the next trade here involves them. And it's Stamkos.
Okay.
Phil_Wilkin wants 2 middling teams to get a deal going here. To Boston, Steven Stamkos. To Nashville, Casey Middlestat, Poitras, and a 2nd round pick.
I'm saying no if I'm Boston.
No, if you're Boston. What?
Stamkos is owed $8 million for the next 3 seasons. Like...
Poitras itself, you don't want to trade that guy if he's so young, has shown some promise. Like Stamkos is at the tail end. He's not having a good season. Boston's not like I don't think
They're
he's
not
gonna-
a player away
Yeah.
from getting out of this. If anything, this trade puts them even farther back.
Okay, it's funny you mentioned this trade because we were talking about potentially offering our own trades, and the player that I actually was thinking about, I think Boston might want to consider moving David Pastrnak soon and just completely kind of retooling.
I think that's too early, man. It's like give
know,
them to the deadline at least.
Oh, I mean, of course, it's early in the season.
Yeah,
and
but
you're
do you, like I think
proposing
it's-
certain
it's,
things.
It's also early enough to just suggest that they're going to be bottom of the league by deadline. Like
they
I know they're not
on a terrible stretch lately. Like
Yeah.
they have not.
But we just talked about
Great.
how open the Eastern Conference is right now, and there's pretty much no teams that have a below 500 record. And I'm just talking wins and losses here, obviously overtime losses. Most teams have a below 500 record, but that even speaks higher of how open it is and how close a lot of these teams are. And it's like,
Do you think Boston is seriously like a Stanley Cup contender?
No.
With
I
the
know, but
loss
I
that
think
they have now?
it's the
Like,
whole situation of like, if you don't think you're one of the 4 or 5 best teams in the NHL, I don't think that means you just trade your best player, like David Pastrnak.
Do you think that Boston, with the draft capital they do have now, with everything they have, do you think that? I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe with a good free agency, they could turn it around. But do you think right now they have enough of a core to build around to win a Stanley Cup?
I don't think they have
It's an interesting question.
the
honestly.
Anaheim core or the Montreal
No.
core or these Utah, like these up and coming young teams that have all these 23 to 26-year-olds who are just lighting the league up. Of course not. But in the same breath, and I've been someone who's been critical of Boston, but when you have David Pastrnak, who's a top 10 player in the NHL, when you have Charlie McAvoy, who's a top 15, 20 defenseman in the NHL at least, you can even argue that he's better than that, and you have Jeremy Swayman, a goalie that you're paying top dollar to, I don't think you can do a proper service to your team as a GM to give up on that and not find a way to make it work.
The biggest problem with the Bruins is just what they've done to supplement bad drafting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Is that they haven't been able to have, and Anaheim's a great comparison where it's like, and part of it obviously is like the Bruins were so successful for so long that you're not picking in the top 10. So you're not getting the shots at the apple here. But what happens when you miss on those mid-round picks or trade those first-round picks enough times to go for it is that you end up in a situation here where you're giving out a lot of money to the Casey Middlestats
Yeah.
of the world. You're trading for them, and the Pavel Zakas and the Elias Lindholms and the Nikita Zadorovs and even Hampus Lindholm at 6.5. He's 31, and it's just like you have a serviceable NHL team, but you're stuck in this area where you can't really acquire talent and you don't want to fully rebuild. So
Yeah.
what do? The clear kind of area they go to is you have 2 first-round picks this year and next year, which is a good thing. The worst thing to do for them would be to try and trade them for like Steven Stamkos
Yeah,
to go all in or to try and make that move, I think. It's probably time for a proper rebuild for this team. How kind of destructive that rebuild gets, whether they trade a guy like Pasta or McAvoy and they feel like that's the best way to recoup some assets and really start from the bottom, time will tell.
Because and like I get it from Bruins fans being like, oh, we've got Hagen's coming up, and like Hagen's playing on a line with Pastrnak, that could be like a completely lethal combo. I just think though that, like, you mentioned the Ducks. This is a team that was so dominant, at least like when we were growing up. Paul, you're a little younger.
No, I remember Solani and the Getzlav days.
Well, yeah, like in like the 2010s, this team was just like consistently making the playoffs, so good all the time. And then all of a sudden, it's like they realized that their window wasn't really there anymore. It's been a long, slow burn for Anaheim, but now you look at the Ducks and you're like, this team is going to be dangerous for years to come. I just think they're like Boston, who's always kind of the center of the hockey world to a degree. Great market, very intense fans. They probably always want to be relevant. They always have been pretty good, but it just feels like they're kind of losing the spark a little bit. And at what point do you say, okay, you know what? It's just our time to start not just retooling, like rebuilding. I can't even remember the last time that Boston did a rebuild. I don't know.
They haven't.
They haven't.
They don't
They
do
haven't.
rebuilds.
They don't
They're
do
very
rebuilds.
much like the Penguins or the Red Wings in that sense, where like
Yeah.
the rebuild just doesn't happen. They're trying to stay competitive, and
Yeah.
they believe they can do it through trades and through
Yeah.
signings, and It's worked for them most of the time, but now you get into an area where there just looks like no end in sight, which is a scary place to be.
For sure. And from Pasta's perspective, sure, he's like the leader on the team now, but I mean, Bergeron's gone, Marchand is gone. If the team is not in a playoff position, at what point is he like, okay, you know what, maybe I need a change of scenery here?
Potentially. Let's get to we've got a few more players, and these are some big trades. Quinn Hughes, his name has been linked to the Devils, so we obviously have 3 Quinn Hughes Devil trades. I truly don't think we're accepting any of these from New Jersey's perspective, but N_Eachin.7. Quinn Hughes to the Devils for Brat Mercer Nemec, a 2026 first and second.
That's actually not a bad pack.
That's a lot to get.
Too much.
But
Too much
for the Devils.
Oh, for the Devils.
Yeah,
Mercer's been amazing this year too.
But if I'm Vancouver, I'm just saying.
Oh my God, yeah. If you're Vancouver,
No, but I'm just telling him I'm not trading him like no matter what. Like I just feel like you have to find a way to make this work.
for sure. You only
that is a
what
good
if
package.
You realize you don't.
That is a good package.
I think Quinn Hughes is gone from Vancouver.
I'm sorry.
Have
the same feeling, man.
Man,
the
they're not
captain of their team.
They're not a good team,
Let's
dude.
go through these next
They're
two
not a good
packages here. So
team.
Miles _ Koivitso. Oh, I'm butchering these. Quinn Hughes to the Devils for just Nemec and Brat. A little less enticing.
Yeah,
this
I don't
one's
know.
insane, though, from Travis McNee 31. Quinn Hughes for Anton Silayev, their first-round pick, 10th overall. 2026 first, 2027 first, Dougie Hamilton, 2026 second, and a 2028 third.
Ooh, it's a lot of drafts.
So it's a lot of draft picks and future projection with that one, along with Dougie Hamilton, who I guess is your replacement for Quinn Hughes on the blue line.
And it probably makes the cap work a little bit better.
You get to keep Jesper Bratt in that situation, though, which I'm sure the Devils would like, but that is a ton of future
And
assets
Mercer.
you're giving at. And Mercer.
Mercer's been unreal this year. He's been lighting the lamp.
Nemec has been really good as well. Like he's started off
7
quite
apples,
well.
I think.
Yeah. He's been good. I feel like he's kind of starting to find that promise that we all saw for him. I don't know if I'm accepting any of these for multiple different reasons from both sides, but I think like the Devil from the Canucks side of things, the Brat Mercer. If the Devils called me today and were like Brat Mercer Nemec, a 2026 first and second for Quinn Hughes,
No
I'm taking
question.
it. I think I'm taking it.
How much term does Quinn Hughes have left?
No, okay.
Like,
and
is there just a world where the Devils can just sit and wait?
That's
Be like, we're gonna get this guy anyways if he hits the open market because he's growing frustrated in Vancouver. The results aren't really there.
After this year, he's only got 1 year left.
exactly.
This is exactly what I was going to get into this exact thing. Like, if you're the Devils, I think you kind of just...
You just wait it out.
Yeah. This is another team that, like, they're relatively young. Like, they have a lot of good young pieces. You don't need to, like, completely break up your future. You could literally just wait, probably, and sign Quinn Hughes.
Yeah. Or you're not even trading him from this season. You don't even have to trade for him in the offseason. But next season, when the Canucks maybe aren't doing well again, the whispers start to become much louder. Maybe the price is just going to go way down because everyone knows he wants out, and you are now forced into a situation where you just got to get something for him because you can't let your captain walk for nothing.
Yeah.
This is such a brutal situation.
It's the worst situation the Canucks
but also,
could be
at the same time, I think because we've kind of fallen into this narrative of being excited of 3 brothers playing on the same team and they're all extremely talented players, I think we're all not accepting that. I think there's a world where the Canucks just figure it out. And maybe they get back on track to where they were 2 years ago. Their team is really not that bad. Like, they should not be struggling as much as I think we're kind of speaking them up to be.
It's not that they're not that good.
I don't think they're
man.
that good.
They're really not.
What gets you like? I know we've been doing this thing with Petey where it's like
that's my main thing. Like, I've not given up with him. I think Besser's a good player to have.
I don't think he's bad, but like again,
Demko and Ned is like, yeah, when he's healthy, like he's a good player.
Who's coming up through the system? I think is what we need to focus on. Lekarmake, Wallander just played his first game, or he's been playing this year. Sorry,
like the supplementary pieces around them though. It's like the Evander Kanes and the Jake DeBrusk, and DeBrusk had a great year last year. That's fine, but he was never going to be like a 30 goal. Like he's never been that in his career, and they're paying him like he is going to be that for them every year. Like 5.5 is a nice deal for him, but he needs to play with a player that's going to get him that production. He's not going to do it on his own. Kiefer Sherwood is leading this team in goals.
9 goals, 0 assists.
Yeah, maybe mixing a pass every once in a while.
9 goals and 0 assists. I just don't think they're that good of a team, truthfully.
I'm not sitting here saying they're like these cup contenders, but it's like the thought of a captain who's one of the best players in the NHL leaving a big market in Vancouver, a Canadian market. I know they're American and he wants to play with his brothers, but just like that storyline is something where it's like, man, I guess at the end of the day, if he just wants to not be there and if he wants to play with his brothers,
he's got all the leverage.
Then
and they've already talked about it. Yes.
It's just like a crazy storyline for me to wrap my head around.
It's true.
More so what I'm saying.
There's not a lot. There's not what about him playing with his brothers?
Not only that, but just like 2 years ago, the Canucks were so good. And yeah,
We were calling them frauds all year for a reason.
And look,
No,
maybe I'm wrong. I just feel like I wouldn't be surprised if Quinn Hughes left the Canucks.
that's fair.
I don't have any inside information, by the way. I just feel like anyways.
Let's get to these last ones because we got to get out of here. This one involves Rasmus Anderson, and this one involves Jason Robertson as well. So we've got one that's basically like kind of a 1-for-1 from Jesse_Church. Rasmus Anderson and a 2026 first to Dallas for Jason Robertson. So Calgary's getting Robertson, Dallas gets Anderson and a first. And then we've also got another Jason Robertson trade. Jack Nesbitt and Jet Luchenko to Dallas for Jason Robertson and a fifth.
I don't think that's enough.
I don't think that's enough either. I think Jason Robertson is a very good player.
He's like one of these players. He's so good. I feel like in the last 2-3 years, maybe we've cooled on him a little bit.
Probably.
But at the same time, he's like
pretty
he's one of those.
an 80-point player.
But he's also pretty consistently in trade talks with Dallas, which is weird. But
Yeah.
they got to pay him. They've got a lot of different players that they're paying, so it kind of does make sense. Maybe it's a way to recoup assets. I think the Calgary one is pretty fair on value because Rasmus Anderson is a really good player, and they're giving up a first-round pick. I think where Calgary is right now, Jason Robertson is 27 years old. You're going to have to commit to him for an 8-year deal or 7-year deal probably if you're Calgary. Yeah, I think Calgary needs to stop with the player-for-player trades, and if they're going to do this rebuild the proper way, it's just draft picks. Just give me as many draft picks as we can get. Let's just draft. Because when Calgary's ready to win, you're going to have Jason Robertson at 31 years old on a big contract. It just really, the timeline doesn't really match up.
We've got some good prospects coming up too, man. Like, I don't know.
I also don't think it works for Dallas getting Anderson. Like that decor is pretty
It's pretty
solid, and they've put a lot of money into it, obviously, with Harley and Heiskanen. So
if you're Dallas, is there a world where Dallas just wants to re-sign this guy?
Jason Robertson?
Yeah.
There should be a world they want to re-sign him. I would. You've got Ben coming off the books. Like that, Sagan's coming off the books after next year. Like, I'd do everything you can to re-sign him. That's your core. That's your team, personally.
I agree.
It's an interesting trade, though. It's an interesting one to think about. All right, that's all our trades. Thank you so much for submitting all of them. We really appreciate it. It's fun to go over them. There were a lot more good ones, I feel like, than in years past where we've just kind of dismissed a lot of them.
Yeah, there were a lot of good ones. I'm surprised we didn't hear any Alexis Lafreniere.
Nothing yet. Nothing yet. But we're going to do a trade episode ourselves where we're going to think of 8 trades that we want to see happen.
Those Panarin trades, like
they're good.
Well done on those Panarin trades.
Yeah,
I thought those were
I've been
thinking about those for the rest of the
100%.
It's going to go to sleep.
I think they were both very interesting offers.
Let's get to goal of the week now. Christian Dvorak is our leader in the clubhouse, but we've got a great one going up against him.
A milestone goal.
Milestone goal.
That no one cared about, apparently.
It was a Wednesday night in Columbus. The Leafs, coming off of a back-to-back. Their captain, John Tavares, 1 goal away from 500. The Leafs down 6-1 at this point.
5-1.
No, it was 6.
6-1?
It was Columbus said 6.
And the Jays were playing.
Yeah.
And the Jays were playing and winning. And with 4:15 left in the third, John scores number 500. I can't think, truly, to become the 49th player in NHL history to score 500 goals. I can't think of a more anticlimactic moment to do it in.
Yeah.
And especially he was playing like so well on their homestand. He was scoring a lot. He had scored the OT winner literally, I think, the game before, maybe against or it wasn't the game before, but it was in that span. He had scored the OT winner against Buffalo to make a comeback victory there. I don't think it's beating Dvorak, but like, can you think of a sadder way to score goal number 500?
I feel like I literally saw people on X saying, yeah, like he just shouldn't have scored the goal. Like he just waited. It's like, what is he supposed to do? Just not score? It's like
You never know if it'll be your last goal.
It's just the way the cards play out. You know, it's like that's just how it happened.
Yeah.
Sucks, but it's how it happened.
It does suck. I will say, JT, having a wonderful year at age 35, 16 points in 13 games, 6 goals for the Leafs. Can't question that guy's dedication to this team. I think they've gotten everything they could have ever wanted and more from him. And one of the only players, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, to score 250 goals with 2 franchises.
Yeah.
It's like him, Ron Francis.
Ron Francis did it with 3, too.
That's nuts. And Wayne Gretzky and Lemieux, I think.
Yeah,
Those are the only 4 players to ever do that, which is insane. So hats off to JT. Congratulations. You're not beating Dvorak, though, on the goal of the week power rankings.
Would you guys rather score your first goal in a 6-1 blowout, like you're losing 6-1, or would you rather score your 500th goal in a 6-1 blowout?
Probably my first goal. Because, like, scoring your first goal is just...
Because it's like, the kids, usually these guys are really young when they score their first goal in the NHL. And they have a hard time, like, masking their excitement.
That's fair.
And it's like you're down 6-1, you score your first goal. You've literally dreamed, you've worked your whole entire life to do this. You finally do it. Like the 500th goal, yes, it's a great accomplishment, but it's also like been there, done that. You're a vet. You're going to the Hall of Fame. So first goal, down 6, you can't celebrate. Terrible.
Tough. Hey.
Depends how you score it.
Depends how you score it. There we go. Thanks for joining us on another episode of the BarDown Podcast. Like and subscribe. Let us know what you want to see us talk about. And Pac will have a statement next week.
Maybe. I don't know. No promises.